It cascades down a mountainside in Rio de Janeiro, a chaotic and vibrant sea of brick and concrete between two of the city's wealthiest neighborhoods. This is Rocinha, the largest favela in Brazil. It is not just a slum, it is a city within a city, a testament to human resilience with a story etched into every wall. It wasn't always a city. In the 1930s, this land was a farm. But as poor workers migrated from Brazil's rural northeast to seek work in Rio, they needed a place to live. They began to build simple shacks on this steep, unoccupied land. One of those early stories is of a man who sold produce from the farm. When customers asked where it was from, he'd say it came from his little farm, his Rocinha. The name stuck. Over decades, the shacks gave way to multi-story brick houses. Rocinha developed its own ecosystem. Here's a true story repeated thousands of times. A family opens a small shop on their ground floor. It becomes a bank, a post office, and a social club. The community built its own infrastructure, from pirate cable TV networks to its own transportation system of motorcycle taxis, the only vehicles that can navigate the labyrinth of narrow alleyways. But with autonomy came conflict. For decades, Rocinha was controlled by powerful drug gangs. They were the law. A real story from this time is of a mother who forbade her children from wearing green or red clothes in public, the colors of rival gangs, for fear they would be targeted. In 2011, the government sent in the army to pacify the favela, a move met with both hope and deep mistrust by residents weary of violence from all sides. In the face of hardship, art became a weapon of hope. A well-known local artist started a project painting colorful murals on the houses of residents. The deal was simple. He would provide the paint and the design if the resident repaired their home's facade. It was a way to restore dignity, one house at a time, bringing color and pride to a community often defined only by its problems. Today, Rocinha is a place of profound contradictions. It has a higher standard of living than many favelas, but still lacks basic sanitation. It's a popular tourist destination, yet its residents face daily struggles. More than anything, Rocinha is not a monolith. It is home to over 100,000 individual stories of survival, creativity, and the relentless, unshakable pursuit of a better life on the hill. In the geographic center of Mumbai, squeezed between two railway lines, lies a place of incredible paradox. This is Dharavi. Covering just 1 square mile, it is home to nearly 1 million people, making it one of the most densely populated places on Earth. But to call it a slum is to miss the real story. This is an engine of enterprise. Dharavi is Mumbai's recycling hub. Here's a true story that happens every day. A plastic bottle discarded in a wealthy neighborhood finds its way here. It will be bought, sorted, cleaned, melted down into pellets, and sold back to manufacturers to be born again. An estimated 80% of Mumbai's plastic waste is recycled in these narrow lanes. A testament to an incredibly efficient, informal economy that thrives where formal systems have failed. This is not a place of beggars, it is a place of workers. There are over 15,000 single-room factories in Dharavi, each a testament to human ingenuity. Here's a story. In the district of Kumparwada, potters whose families came here generations ago fire their earthenware in community kilns, their products sold all over India. Elsewhere, skilled craftsmen produce high-quality leather goods, many of which end up in high-end stores. Their origins a well-kept secret. This bustling network of commerce, from textiles to food processing, generates an estimated annual turnover of over $1 billion. Life here is built on layers. The home is also the workshop, the bedroom, and the kitchen, often in a space no larger than 10 square meters. A common story is of a family that lives on a mezzanine floor they built themselves, while the ground floor is used for their family business during the day. Despite the cramped conditions, there is a powerful sense of community, a social fabric woven from shared struggle and interdependence. It is this spirit that transforms close quarters into a close-knit society. Dharavi is a mosaic of villages, a city within a city. People from the same region of India live together, recreating their local culture, language, and festivals in the heart of Mumbai. You'll find a street that feels like Tamil Nadu right next to one that feels like Uttar Pradesh, each neighborhood a distinct cultural enclave. This story of community is Dharavi's social security. There is little crime. Doors are left unlocked, and neighbors look after each other's children as their own. But this community sits on some of the most valuable real estate in Mumbai. For years, developers have planned to raise Dharavi and build modern towers, a multi-billion-dollar project that promises redevelopment. For the residents, this is a threat to their homes and their livelihoods, a plan that overlooks the intricate economic and social networks built over generations. The story of Dharavi is not finished. It is the story of a resilient, resourceful community fighting for its right to exist. A city built not by planners but by people. From the air, it looks like the earth has been wounded and scabbed over with rust. This is Kibera in Nairobi, Kenya. An endless, undulating sea of corrugated tin roofs packed so tightly, it's hard to imagine that 1 million people live underneath. This is one of Africa's largest and most infamous urban slums. A single railway line cuts through the heart of Kibera. This is not just a track, it's the main street, the marketplace, the playground. Here's a true story of daily life. Vendors lay out their vegetables right on the tracks. When the rumble of the twice-daily train is heard, the entire street dissolves in seconds. People snatch up their children, their goods, and press against the shacks. The train passes inches away, and life immediately spills back onto the tracks as if nothing happened. Kibera has almost no formal sanitation. There are very few toilets, and what exists is often controlled by gangs. This led to a desperate, infamous solution known as flying toilets. The story is this. At night, residents use a plastic bag as a toilet, tie it up, and throw it as far as they can into the darkness. The arc of a thrown bag is a symbol of a fundamental human need denied. In the morning, the paths and roofs are littered with them. In Kibera, water is power. With no running water in homes, residents must buy every drop. A true story of the informal economy is that of the water vendors. They control the communal taps, often illegally, and sell water at prices far higher than anywhere else in the city. Every day you see the story of survival in the long lines of women and children, waiting for hours with their yellow jerry cans to buy this basic necessity for life. But Kibera is not a place of victims. It's a place of fighters. Here's a story of hope. A group of young people born and raised in Kibera were tired of the lack of opportunities. They started their own school in a tin shack, teaching children for free. They created community centers, turning garbage-filled areas into small parks. They are changing Kibera from the inside out, proving that hope can flourish even in the harshest conditions. Kibera is a scar on the face of Nairobi, a shocking testament to inequality. But look closer. It's also a city of 1 million stories, a place of unimaginable hustle, community, and ingenuity. It is the ultimate story of human adaptation, a community that refuses to be broken, surviving and even finding joy in a landscape that looks like the end of the world. It rises from the valley of Caracas like a single colossal mountain of red brick. This is Petare. It is not just a neighborhood. It is one of the largest and most dangerous favelas on the planet. Home to a population some estimate at nearly 500,000, it is a vertical, chaotic, and unconquerable city built by its own people. Petare is a city that grows upwards. The story here is in the walls. A family builds a home, a rancho. When their children marry, they don't move out, they build up. They add another floor on the roof, then another for their grandchildren. Houses are stacked on top of each other, creating a dense, precarious labyrinth where streets are often staircases and sunlight struggles to reach the ground. The Redoma de Petare, the roundabout at its entrance, is one of the largest informal markets in Latin America. It's a story of pure commerce. Anything you can imagine is bought and sold here. But deeper inside, another economy rules. For decades, the law of Petare has been the law of the malandros, or gangs. A real story of survival here is knowing the invisible borders. A resident knows that crossing a certain street means entering another gang's territory, a mistake that can be fatal. The sound of Petare at night is a story in itself. The vibrant pulse of salsa music from homes and bars is often punctuated by the sharp crack of gunfire. A chillingly common story is of a parent teaching their child to distinguish the sounds. That's a firecracker for a party. That is a pistol. That is a machine gun. When the shooting starts, you don't run to the window. You run to the safest part of the house, away from the walls, and wait for the morning. Yet life in this concrete jungle is fiercely lived. The story of resilience is everywhere. It's in the incredible skill of the moto taxi drivers who navigate stairs as if they were roads. It's in the passion for baseball, played in any available concrete patch. It's in the metro cable, the cable car system that floats above. A government project offering a lifeline and a breathtaking, terrifying view of the city below. Petare is the ultimate symbol of a failed state, a place abandoned by official planning but relentlessly built by human need. It is dangerous, chaotic, and desperately poor, But it is also a testament to the will to survive, to build, to create community, and to live with ferocious intensity. It is a city of stories written in concrete and brick that refuses to be erased. Welcome to Tondo, Manila, one of the most densely populated places on Earth. It was born from the smoke of a city dump, and for decades it has been a kingdom of scavengers. But in the labyrinth of its alleys, a different kind of survival of the fittest has always played out. For years, the law of Tondo was the law of the street gangs. Brotherhoods with their own codes and territories, their own brutal justice where the police wouldn't go. The story of a young man's life was often a choice of which gang to join for protection, for identity. They fought over turf and controlled small-time drug trades. And then the war came, not from a rival gang but from the state itself. When President Duterte declared his war on drugs, Tondo became ground zero. The story of gang life changed overnight. The enemy was no longer the man with a different tattoo. It was the police, the military, and the masked vigilantes on motorcycles. A new and terrifying story became common in Tondo. A knock on the door after midnight. Police operations, known as Tokang, targeted anyone on a list of suspected drug users or pushers, and thousands were killed. A story a mother will tell is that her son was a user, not a dealer, but he was executed in the street. The gangs were being systematically exterminated, and fear replaced territory as the defining emotion of the slum. The gangs that survive are now ghosts. They operate deeper in the shadows, their operations more decentralized, more dangerous. The real story of Tondo today is that the violence didn't disappear, it just changed its face. Now residents fear both the gangsters and the men sent to hunt them. The ultimate desperation is still told through pagpag, a meal scavenged from the trash of the rich, cleaned and recooked. A meal born from a place where life has the lowest possible value. The gangs of Tondo learned a new fear, not of a rival's knife, but of the state's bullet. The war on drugs has created a landscape of widows, orphans, and broken communities. The battle for Tondo continues, but it's no longer just a war between gangs. It's a war on poverty fought with bullets, where the line between criminal, victim, and enforcer has been tragically and permanently blurred. Far from the beaches of Rio, a new giant has taken the throne. This is Nascente, now officially the largest favela in Brazil, but its story is not just one of massive growth. It's the story of a new kind of frontier, and the lawlessness that comes with it. The city was born from irregular land occupation. But who controls the land? The first story of power here is that of the grileiros, or land grabbers. These are criminal groups who illegally seize public or private land, divide it into small plots, and sell it to desperate families with no other options. They sell a dream, but it's a dream built on a foundation of illegality and fear. Where the state is absent, a new power rises. In Nascente, this power is often the militias. A true story of business here is one of extortion. You open a small shop and soon you receive a visit. You must pay a weekly security tax to the local militia. They control the sale of cooking gas, the illegal internet connections. To refuse is not an option, they are the law. Nascente is the dark side of Brasilia's modernist dream. The government's failure to provide housing and basic services created a vacuum. This is a story about absence. The police rarely patrol the inner streets, effectively ceding control to armed groups. Residents are caught in the middle, living in the shadow of a wealthy capital but governed by the barrel of a gun. But even in fear, there is resistance. The story of survival is often a silent one. It's in the community networks that warn each other of danger. It's in the churches that provide a safe space away from the street. It's in the quiet decision to support a neighbor's business instead of one controlled by the militia. It's a low-level war fought not with weapons but with choices. Nascente, the rising sun, is a battleground. It's a fight for land, for resources, for control. Fought between the original settlers, the land grabbers, and the militias who rule through intimidation. The endless horizon is not just a landscape, it's a symbol of a sprawling, uncertain future. This is the raw story of how Brazil's newest and largest favela is being forged in a crucible of conflict. In the heart of Lagos, one of the world's most chaotic cities, lies another city, a floating kingdom of wood and tin, built on stilts over the black water of the lagoon. This is Makoko. But in a city with no streets, no police, and no government, who makes the rules? On the water, power belongs to those who control the channels. A true story of Makoko's economy is the rule of the area boys. These are not just canoe drivers, they are the gatekeepers. They claim ownership over certain waterways, and any fisherman or transport canoe passing through must pay a toll. To refuse is to invite trouble, a damaged boat, or a blocked path. This is the unofficial tax system of the lagoon. But the area boys are not the only power. For generations, Makoko has been governed by traditional chiefs, the Balis. They are the community's royalty, settling disputes over fishing rights and family matters from their wooden palaces on the water. The story of conflict here is often a three-way struggle. The Bales trying to maintain traditional order, the area boys enforcing their own street law on the water, and everyone against the outside world. The greatest threat to Makoko does not come from within. A devastating true story unfolded in 2012. The government declared the settlement illegal and sent in armed men on speedboats to demolish it. They destroyed homes and displaced thousands with only 72 hours' notice. From the residents' perspective, this was the ultimate act of gangsterism, an attack on their very existence by a force they could not fight. Even the ground itself is a source of conflict. Creating new land in Makoko involves dredging sand from the lagoon and filling in an area, a process controlled by powerful local figures. The story of building a new home is a story of negotiation and payment to the men who control the sand. They are literally selling the earth, creating territory out of water and profiting from every square meter. Makoko survives in a constant state of tension. It's a city caught between its traditional rulers, the gangs that control its waterways, and a government that wants it gone. Life here is a masterclass in navigating invisible lines of power. It's a story of survival, not just against poverty, but in a complex web of control and resistance. A floating kingdom that simply refuses to sink. This is not South America. This is Orangi town, Karachi, Pakistan, one of the largest informal settlements in Asia. A sprawling kingdom of concrete and tin home to millions. And for decades, it was a front line in a brutal war fought not just for money, but for politics, identity, and the soul of the city. To understand the gangs of Orangi, you must understand Karachi's ethnic politics. The gangs were often the armed militias of major political parties, divided along ethnic lines. A true story of power here was your address and your ethnicity. Your street was either friendly territory or a deadly frontier. Gang members were not just thugs. They were soldiers in a turf war fighting for votes, land, and control. Life under gang rule was a story of daily fear. The main business was bada, extortion. Every shopkeeper, every bus driver had to pay a weekly tax to the gang controlling their area. Another story was kabza, land grabbing. Gangs would illegally seize property and sell it for profit. The most terrifying story was the bori band lash, the body in a sack, a common method of disposing of rivals, their bodies left in the street as a warning. As the city descended into chaos, the state finally struck back. The story of the cleanup was led not by police but by the paramilitary rangers. They launched a massive years-long operation. The war moved from gang versus gang to gangs versus the state. Shootouts, raids, and targeted killings of gang leaders became the new norm. The city held its breath as the rangers went from neighborhood to neighborhood, dismantling the infrastructure of terror. But the most powerful story in Orangi town is not one of violence, it's one of resilience. While the gangs and the state fought, the people built their own salvation. This is the home of the Orangi Pilot Project. A true story of defiance. Ignored by the government and terrorized by gangs, the residents organized themselves, collected their own money, and built their own sewer system, lane by lane. They fought chaos not with guns, but with concrete pipes. Today, an uneasy calm has settled over Orangi town. The Rangers' operation broke the back of the major gangs, but the political tensions and deep poverty remain. The gangs are not gone, they are dormant, waiting. The story of Orangi is a lesson for the world, that even in the face of political violence and state neglect, the will of a community to build a better life can be the most powerful force of all. But the scars of that war fester. A new story is unfolding in the shadows, a story of inheritance. With the old political gangs shattered, a new, more desperate crime has taken root. The sons of the conflict are now fighting a new war, not for territory but for survival. The rise of cheap synthetic drugs like ice has created a generation of addicts and low-level dealers, fueling a rise in street crime. The violence is no longer organized, it's chaotic. And so the final ongoing battle for Orangi town is not being fought with guns but for the minds of its children. The true story of the future is being written in makeshift schools and community centers. It is the fight of a mother to keep her son away from drugs, the struggle of a teacher to offer a different path. The enemy is no longer a man with a gun, but the hopelessness that he left behind. The war for Orangi town is far from over. It has simply moved into the homes and the hearts of its people. On the steep hillsides of Medellin, Colombia, clings a vertical slum of brick and tin. This is Comuna 13. For decades, it wasn't just a neighborhood, it was a fortress, a strategic prize in a war for the soul of the city. To control Comuna 13 was to control a key trafficking corridor to the outside world. The story of gangs here is a story of layers. After the fall of Pablo Escobar, a power vacuum was filled by leftist guerrilla groups like FARC and ELN. They turned the Comuna into an urban stronghold. Then came their sworn enemies, the brutal right-wing paramilitary groups who arrived to cleanse the area. A true story of life here was being caught between three warring armies, with invisible borders separating one street from the next. The darkest chapter began in October 2002. The Colombian military launched Operation Orion, a massive siege to retake the Comuna. The story residents tell is of a total blackout. For days, Black Hawk helicopters strafed the hillside and hundreds of soldiers flooded the alleys. But the terrifying truth is that the military allegedly worked with the paramilitaries, giving them free rein to hunt down and execute anyone suspected of being a guerrilla sympathizer. When the shooting stopped, a horrifying silence fell. Hundreds of people were disappeared. The story the mothers of Comuna 13 still tell is of La Escombrera, the local dump. It's believed to be the largest urban mass grave in the Western Hemisphere, where the paramilitaries buried the victims. For years, the community has fought to have the earth excavated to find their loved ones. But then, something impossible happened. In a place defined by violence and neglect, the city built something radical, a series of giant outdoor escalators. The story of this escalator is not about convenience. It was a statement of peace, a symbol of connecting the forgotten community to the city, giving its residents dignity. The children of the war picked up spray cans instead of guns. Today, Comuna 13 is famous for its graffiti. Each mural tells a story of the violence, of the victims, of resilience. The residents have transformed their scars into a living museum, proving that even from the deepest darkness, a community can paint its own way back into the light. But the story of peace is complicated. The tourist boom has a dark undercurrent. The old gangs are gone, but new combos have emerged. They are more discreet, controlling micro-territories. A true story of a new business owner is that a small tax must still be paid for protection. The gangs now profit from the very peace they once destroyed. It's a quieter form of control, an invisible power structure beneath the vibrant art. This is why the fight for memory is now the most important battle. The tour guides, who are the sons and daughters of the war, are the new soldiers. Their words are their weapons. Every mural they explain is an act of defiance against forgetting. The story of Comuna 13 is not over. It is a daily struggle to ensure that the stories of the past fuel the hope for the future. A future that the next generation is determined to dance, paint, and build for themselves.
In the 1960s, the Brazilian government created a housing project on the outskirts of Rio de Janeiro. They called it Cidade de Deus, the City of God. It was designed to move the poor away from the city's affluent center, but it soon became a world of its own, isolated and forgotten. By the 1970s, this world had its own laws and its own kings. One of them was a young man named Dadinho. Ambitious and ruthless, he decided robbery was no longer enough. He wanted to control the drug trade. He took over the favelas' drug spots one by one and reinvented himself. He was no longer Dadinho. He was Zé Pequeno, the most feared man in the City of God, commanding an army of children and teenagers. But power breeds conflict. When Zé Pequeno's gang brutalized the girlfriend of a quiet bus conductor named Mané Galinha, they ignited a war. Galinha, seeking revenge, allied with a rival trafficker. The streets of the City of God turned into a battlefield, a bloody conflict that would end only with the deaths of both its leaders. Their story, a true story, became a symbol of the favela's struggle. This was not an isolated event. Around the same time, in the prisons of the Brazilian dictatorship, a new power was forming. Common criminals, jailed alongside political militants, learned how to organize. In 1979, they founded the Comando Vermelho, the Red Command. It wasn't just a gang, it was an ideology, born in prison and unleashed onto the streets. Today, gangs like the Comando Vermelho run the favelas as parallel states. They control territory with concrete barricades and watch from above with drones. This isn't just about drugs anymore. It's about total control. They extort residents for everything: cooking gas, which they sell for inflated prices, internet service, even security fees. Refusing to pay can mean torture or worse. The gangs have turned the favelas into lucrative prisons, trapping the poor in a cycle of poverty and fear. For those living inside, the law of the gang is the only law that matters, a daily reality in the city that was once named after God.